Hey everybody, welcome to the Midnight Cast, the official podcast of the Midnite Romero Society. I am Midnight Dave, and today, as ever, I am joined by...
K-Tron. Sorry.
I don't know what order we're going in.
What's our turn order? I don't remember.
We'll start with Jenny, K-Tron, Jet Mike.
Wait, I thought Kai was going first.
I'm going first to talk about our stuff.
Oh.
But
Should
Dave's the host.
again?
Dave's hosting. Yeah, we're going to have to.
Okay.
All right. So when we introduce, it'll be Dave, Jenny, me, Mike.
Okay.
And then Dave, you can pass me the ball whenever you want me to start.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Midnight Cast, the official podcast of the Midnite Romero Society. I am Midnight Dave, and I am joined as ever by...
Jenny from the grave.
K-Tron.
And Jet Mike.
And today we are talking about something that I have a very hard time summarizing. So K-Tron, I'm going to hand it off to you. What are we talking about this month?
This is something that has been a passion project of mine. And I don't think I've ever said it the same way twice. So I'm going to go with this today. Movies with songs that contain the name of the movie in the song. So I'm sure you're familiar with this. It's a common practice in some films during certain time periods where there would be a song that is written specifically for the movie that is often at the beginning or sometimes at the end or sometimes just thrown on the soundtrack somewhere that kind of summarizes the whole movie or is just a fun song that's got the name of the movie. And it's one of those things that always gave me a big pop is like, it's sort of like when a band has a song that's got the band's name in it. It's like, yeah, I like to hear it. This is songs that have the name of the movie in it. I do have some rules for this. The first rule is it does have to be made for the movie. So it can't be like the movie was named after a song, like Stand By Me or Season of the Witch. There was a song first, and then they kind of just tagged it onto the movie. It's got to appear in the film at some point or on the soundtrack, at least the official soundtrack somehow. And it's got to say the title, as much of the title as possible. So it can't be like Goonies are good enough. That song never actually says the word Goonies, so it can't count. That's it. That's what we're going with today.
If you don't follow at home, you'll get the grasp of it once we start talking about the movies it entails. So K-Tron, once again, your topic, your passion project, you go first.
All right. So I'm going to go with the big one. I know there's going to be a bunch that we'll probably think of later, or someone listening will go, oh my gosh, why didn't you include this one? So we'll include stuff that we love. We might hit some of those. If you want us to hit another one that we missed, hey, we can do it again. There's so many of these that it would be great to do this one again. But I'm going to go with a big one right off the bat. I'm going to go with Ghostbusters. So this is probably the big daddy, the king, if you will. The song is titled Ghostbusters as well. The movie came out in 1984, and it was, I don't know if the song came first or not. I think it did, come out before the movie actually did. And the song is called Ghostbusters by Ray Parker Jr. So if you're not familiar with the movie Ghostbusters, I'll give you a brief synopsis. It's about paranormal scientists who hunt some mother effing ghosts. And that's pretty much it. So this song, it was big. This is a big deal, and it still is. You've probably heard it sometime in your life without never having even seen a Ghostbusters film. And it's It was the winner of the Best Pop Instrumental Performance of the 1985 Grammys. So it didn't win for just the regular song, but the instrumental version did win a Grammy. So that's why I call this one the Big Daddy. This is the one that, like, it's even got a Grammy. Most of these songs end up being sort of silly novelty things that kind of get pushed to the side. But this one is actually, like, extremely popular. #1 Billboard Hot 100 chart topper in August of 1984. And just a big, big deal. So this song is extremely fun. It is catchy as all heck. And the legend has it that this song was made with only a few days for Ray Parker Jr. to come up with. So he had to come up with the lyrics, the song itself, without having seen the film, and he was sort of at his wit's end. So he's watching television and sees a commercial for some, like, cheap local thing that has, like, come on down and here's our jingle. And he was like, this is it. This is what I need. So that's why the Ghostbusters song has this whole who you gonna call thing going to it, because it was made after such commercials. So let me go through some lyrics for you here. Who you gonna call? Everybody probably knows that phrase. Like, if you've not even heard the song, you've probably heard who you gonna call, and that is part of that big hook in this whole song. My favorite line that I have written down here: if you've had a dose of a freaky ghost, baby, you better call the Ghostbusters. And another favorite line of mine is, let me tell you something, bustin' makes me feel good, which is out of context. Perfect. Where does this song show up in the film? I think it just comes in at the end. I think it does show up as a jingle in the movie too. It's got an excellent music video. If you've never seen it, it is really fun. Ray Parker Jr. is a ghost in an apartment that is all, like, blackened out with just, like, neon lights around the furniture and things. It's amazing. It's very, very, very 80s. There's a bunch of movie clips interspersed with a lot of cameos of people who aren't in the film. Chevy Chase, John Candy, Danny DeVito, and several others just pop up for fun. And the Ghostbusters cast as well shows up dancing in the middle of New York City with, like, several onlookers watching them and following them. And that dance actually gets used in the beginning of the Ghostbusters cartoon. So when you see the film, you see them do that little, like, shuffle. I mean, the music video, when you see that, that's actually taken from the music video. And it's just a great, fun song. They actually use it again. Run DMC did a remix of it for Ghostbusters 2, which needs to be said because also a wonderful song and movie. But there's actually a little bit of controversy to this one, because we can't have the Big Daddy without having somebody getting in trouble here. So Huey Lewis and the News has a song called I Want a New Drug. And there's apparently, like, the exact same bass line to the Ghostbusters song. So they were sued. I think it was settled out of court. They did not win, paid some money to Huey Lewis and the News. And I thought to myself, what? I know that song. I know I Want a New Drug. And I know Ghostbusters. They don't sound the same. Then I listened to a mashup. It's the exact same song. So, yeah, that's my first pick. I had to go with kicking the door down with some Ghostbusters.
Right on. Piggybacking off of Ghostbusters, there is a guy named Christian Han, and he does these amazing breakdowns of songs, and he has done the Ghostbusters song, and it is a fantastic tale. Like, he really goes into the history of its creation and then breaks it down by track. So, like, the vocal track, the harmonies, the chorus, the bass line, synthesizers, the whole 9 yards, and it is phenomenal. You can probably find it online somewhere, but just also look up Christian Han, because he does these amazing breakdowns. He did Tubular Bells for The Exorcist, which, only like 5 seconds was used, but good stuff. I love that jingle. I sing it all the time, out of context, because bustin' makes me feel good.
It sure does.
Bustin'.
Bustin'. Was it the Neil Sisiega remix?
Oh,
So
yes.
fantastic.
Worth it to put on at any party, anytime.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a staple in any like Halloween music playlist. Like it still gets so much legwork, and it's so good. It's just a great song.
Test of friendship to listen to that song to see, who's like, what's wrong with you versus yeah, and they just, start partying with you and singing along. So that's a test of true friendship, I think.
If they're dancing by your side, they're friends for life. Thank you, Kaya. Jet Mike, what have you got for us?
All right. I am also coming out swinging because, I figured to get the big guy out of the way first that other people may have on their list. Who knows? So I am going with the one and only Prince and Purple Rain.
Yes.
Ooh.
Soundtrack album of all time, Purple Rain, and the greatest musical of all time, Purple Rain. The song was written by Prince. Shocking, I know, because he wrote all of his music. Stars Prince and the Revolution, of course. Apollonia, Morris Day, and the Time. It's from 1984. All of my picks, spoiler, are from the 80s because that was the best decade for this category, I feel.
I think mine might be too, Mike.
Yes. It was just what they did in the 80s. The 80s were a fun decade, So were the soundtracks.
Spoiler, I have no films from the 80s, so this is going to be interesting.
Ooh.
Nice.
All right,
Nice.
all right.
All right.
Me neither.
Whoa.
Weird.
All right, this is going to be an exciting episode.
All right, so let's see. Let's talk about the film a little bit first. So Prince plays the kid. That is the only name given for him in this. He's not Prince. He's kind of a little mashup of fiction and reality. Semi-autobiographical story of his family and rising up in the Minneapolis music scene. The movie's got plenty of performances. It is a true musical. It's from The Revolution, obviously, as well as The Time, Apollonia 6, and the much forgotten Des Dickerson. He used to be Prince's guitar player until Purple Rain, and then he went solo, but he's still in this movie with a great song also. The movie is pretty dark. I mean, I was 7 years old when I saw Purple Rain, and it's not for a 7-year-old. I love Prince since MTV started showing the videos from 1999. So when this came out, it was a natural. But yeah, so it's definitely a gritty film, but they have fabulous wardrobes, so don't worry. The kid goes between good and bad. He's surrounded by all kinds of influences from both sides. From his parents, they're in an abusive relationship, to his bandmates, the club owner, rival bands. It's just a big storm of emotions through this movie. And he certainly isn't the hero through the whole movie either. He has his times where you hate him. So it's a lot of, you think of musicals, and a lot of people think of the classic musicals that are very, very cheery and happy. This is not that kind of movie.
It is sexy though. Well, what?
It certainly is.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that love scene. And I was 7. Wow. So this really opened the floodgates for me as being a Prince fan. It went from seeing his videos to going, I need everything that Prince does, and buy me that outfit.
You'll never have everything Prince does.
No, that is true, but I'm trying.
The vault will never be open.
It was the first ever cassette I ever owned was this soundtrack.
That is really
That's
important.
amazing.
Yes, absolutely it was.
That's impressive.
We should do an episode on that. What cassette was your first?
It was, yeah.
Dude, my first cassette story is not cool at all. It was some weird bar band my parents picked up their CD
Aw.
in the 80s, and then they just gave it to me because I like the cover art, and then that's it. Not cool at all.
My first CD was the Batman Forever soundtrack.
Nice.
Ooh.
Nice.
Kids by a Rose.
I'm right there with you.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I do remember my first cassette, but it was like a kid's cassette where my mom bought me one of those cassettes that you can order and it has your kid's name. So it's like, wake up, Jennifer. What do you do? Let's do. There was like a song about banging pots and pans, like and pissing off your parents, and that was my favorite song on there. But yeah, it's like da da da. Insert name Jennifer. It's like that was my first cassette. But sorry, Mike.
No, that's all right.
Going off track here.
No, I'm glad that me saying that could spawn that. So the last bit of personal detail on this, I thought for a brief moment that my Prince privileges would be taken away because I was in my bedroom. This was before I saw the movie because I couldn't see it in the theater. You know, taking a 7-year-old to that movie is beyond what my parents would do, but letting me watch it at home, fine. But anyway, so before I got to see it, it was coming out and they did a news report about it. So I ran out of my bedroom and my dad was watching the news and I wanted to see the report. And then the report was all about his lyrics and how it wasn't good for kids. And he says the word masturbating in the soundtrack album.
Yeah, darling Nick.
And
Darling Nikki.
yes, so
We
I
all
had
know
to
it.
kind of just slink back to my room and act like I wasn't excited about this so my dad wouldn't take away privileges, but he didn't care. He paid no attention to that at all. So
That's great.
Good.
so yeah, so Purple Rain, it's a classic.
You're a smart kid. Just act like you don't even like it. Whatever.
Yeah, you got to do anything to protect what you love.
Mm,
And that was Prince.
true.
That's such a great song. Like, it's a great soundtrack. It's one of the best albums ever, the best soundtracks ever, like you
Good.
said.
It's
And
solid.
it's not like maybe Dove's Cry is the one that gets radio play a lot, but Purple Rain is the one that kind of sums up the whole movie and every emotion there.
Yeah.
It's very important.
That's where, like,
Mm.
in the film, that's where, despite how good and bad a lot of bad people are, you love everybody at the end because Purple Rain is on. And even the song is dark, but people are like, yes, Purple Rain. But it's a dark
It's like
song.
the last song you hear at the bar.
Yeah.
Everybody's drunk walking out. Oh, it's Purple Rain time.
Prince is like screaming and crying those lyrics. Like, it's very,
It's
very
so emotional.
emotional.
That's why people love it. Hell yeah, Mike.
And-
I knew you were gonna choose that. That's why I didn't choose it.
Thank you. It was a must. I couldn't not pick it.
Mhm.
And my favorite Prince song of all time is on this soundtrack is Computer Blue.
Ooh, that's a deep
Oh,
cut.
I love that one too.
I love it. That's a little known one. Not a lot of people recognize.
And Prince used music that his father wrote in these songs. And I think Computer Blue was one of them, and maybe Purple Rain as well. I think it might have been both of those that he incorporated that music.
Yeah, Computer Blue parts were done on the piano and he turned them into guitar parts.
So good.
Well, I didn't realize that.
And that part is also in the film. So that is one of the true autobiographical parts.
But have you seen Under the Cherry Moon?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't. I haven't watched it yet. It's awful, I know.
None of his other films match Purple Rain. Under the Cherry Moon's not bad. It's just kind of like, all right, what's happening? It's very like fly on the wall. And he has a new album next month.
He has another album next month.
Oh yeah, the Vaults keep putting out albums. They want to do at least one a year.
Mm.
So this one's an unreleased album for the Welcome to America tour that he did, and it's called Welcome to America. He did the tour, he just didn't put the album out.
Total Prince move.
But I definitely want to hear it.
Mm.
Yeah,
They could release an album a year for the rest of all of our lives, and it still wouldn't be like a third of the vault. It's
yeah. They said they could do one a year for 100 years and not release everything.
Wow.
What a wizard.
and his discography is going to be Zappa's soon. It's
Yeah.
gonna be like. Well, thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Awesome. Jenny from the grave, what have you got for us?
Oh, hi. I'm continuing in Purple Rain's mainstream, but not as mainstream as Ghostbusters and not as mainstream as my pick, Mortal Kombat.
Whoa.
I know, it gets stuck in your head. So it's 1995 film, American fantasy martial arts action movie, loose adaptation of the video game series. I read that it was based on MK1 and MK2, the video game series. Loosely is a big keyword here. The plot follows Liu Kang, Johnny Cage, and Sonya Blade, among others, all guided by Raiden on their journey to conquer evil sorcerer Shang Tsung and his forces to save Earth via a tournament of the same name, Mortal Kombat, fought between Earth and the Outworld, which is this kind of like fantasy. I wouldn't really call it hell. It's just like another world, another dimension, full of evil insanity, full of spandex wearing characters. So yes, it's a great film, cult classic. Everybody's seen it. Everybody knows its name. At least most people have played the video game series. This series is still going strong. What are we on now? 11, I think.
Oh yeah, 11.
Which is great. Do not get it for the Switch though, because the graphics will look like absolute poop and it will freeze. It's just not built for anything other than your Xbox and PlayStation consoles. So don't get it for the Switch. High recommendation. We bought it and then it's fun, but it's just like you can tell it's shouldn't be on the Switch. So they tried but failed. So the song is actually called Techno Syndrome / Mortal Kombat.
Wonderful.
So yeah. It's a side project of the Immortals, which at the time were a band consisting of Belgian electronic musicians Maurice Praga-Khan Englin, sorry if my pronunciation's terrible, and Olivier Adams, I believe, or it's Oliver Adams. I'm not sure how they pronounce it over in Belgium. But fun fact, which I had no idea, which now makes the most sense to me in the entire universe. Praga-Khan, one of the first member I was talking about, later went on to lead the controversial tech industrial band Lords of Acid, which
Whoa.
you guys know?
Yeah.
Lords of Acid?
Yeah.
A little bit.
My mouth fell open. I was like, what? I think I saw them once at Club Hell or something like that in Providence, Rhode Island, but I definitely listened to them a lot in my little goth industrial 20. I'm dating myself now, but kind of wild, kind of crazy. So it was a side project for them. I think I read that the single came out before the movie, like the movie was delayed for some reason. But yeah, there's a ton of remixes by everybody under the planet, but the original is just solid gold. I will read it here for you like an epic poem.
Yes.
Test your might. Mortal Kombat. Fight. Mortal Kombat. Excellent. Kano. Liu Kang. Raiden. Johnny Cage. Scorpion. Sub-Zero. Sonya. Mortal Kombat. Fight. And then it just repeats that and repeats that and repeats that like 1,000 times over with the most beautiful electronic majesty.
Poetry snaps. Poetry snaps for that.
Yeah.
I believe all the vocalizations in that movie are taken from the game itself too. I think so, yeah. Just like ripped if you were walking by the game in an arcade or something. I almost expected that song to just blare out of it while it was going through the roster and telling me to test my might.
Exactly. And then the guy from Lords of Acid just took that and made a beater out of it that would always get stuck in your brain till the end of time. So yeah, it's good stuff. It's my most known film that I have, so I thought I'd start strong.
I definitely saw an elementary school talent show. I didn't take part in, but watched it for my school. And there was a kid that did a karate demonstration to that song. And
Oh,
I'm pretty sure it was when the song came out, it was still like super fresh. And that kid
Yep.
got the audience going, just having fun.
OMG.
And I
Oh,
think
yeah.
I remember him doing some good kicks, but really he could have been awful and the song would have just sold it for the crowd. So
Yeah. The song always will sell it for the crowd, no matter what. I might use it in some of my performances as well, now that I think about it.
that would be amazing. I would love that.
I also have another funny story about this. So I worked at Newbury Comics with a bunch of awesome people and nerdy boys, and one of them made, or two of them maybe, I think it was a group effort, I'm not naming any names, they made a Christmas present for everyone at the store, which was a remix of Mortal Kombat that they made themselves. I'll have to dig that up.
Oh.
It was wonderful. I think they might have been saying random words or the names of the other like employees. I can't remember.
That's awesome.
I got to
Yeah.
search for that. Yeah, it was super funny.
The saga continues. That's great.
Mhm.
It's definitely ingrained into the brains of people of a certain age. When the song hit,
Yep.
it was a big deal. And this was pretty early into the video game movie scene too. So
Yeah, it was one of the first big ones, at least. Like they had other, there was like Street Fighter, Double Dragon, all that stuff.
Super
but
Mario
Mortal
Brothers was probably out before that too. Yeah,
Mhm.
Mortal Kombat
Oh,
was
that's
a little
true.
later, but none of them had this song backing it up.
Lords of Acid, God. If I had known when I was that little, like your future in the industrial goth scene will be led by your love of Mortal Kombat.
Seeds are planted.
Now it makes sense. But yeah, David.
Mortal Kombat, directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, famously known for making Event Horizon. Did dare I say, all of the Resident Evils, or at least most of them.
Wow, that makes sense.
So more video game movies. Very good.
Yeah, and Soldier, starring Kurt Russell. Oh, and another video game movie, Alien vs. Predator from 2004.
So yes.
I've never laughed more hard in a movie theater than at the end of Alien versus Predator. When the human lady and the Predator look at each other and they decide to team up and run, and they just start running, and it's like this slow motion cheese fest. I just started cackling. And people in the theater looked at me like I was a whack job. I was like, this is so ridiculous.
I had a similar experience during the first Conjuring. I don't know if anyone's seen it. Spoiler:
Yes.
there's a scene where a little girl is, well, first the mom hears a sound. It's this knocking sound, and so the camera slowly pans around the corner and through a doorway, and you see the little girl banging her head against a closet. And I don't know if that was supposed to be suspenseful or what, but I laughed out so loud the whole theater heard me. And then I think it took the piss out of the whole movie for the rest of them, because then we were just laughing for the rest of it. Well, thank you, Jenny. I guess it's my turn now. And I also went big. I did a grand slam, guys. I did Space Jam.
Everybody get up, it's time to slam now. We got the real jam going down. Welcome to the Space Jam. Here's your chance, do your dance at the Space Jam. Alright. Wave your hands in the air if you feel fine. We're gonna take it into overtime.
I took a chance. I did a dance. Space Jam. All right. Directed.
Another one. It just gets stuck in your brain. You can't get it out.
Directed by this guy named Joe Paita, who only had 2 other credits that I could find. He directed this weird movie called Let It Ride from 1989, and then he directed a commercial. So he directed Let It Ride in 1989, and then his next movie was in 1996. I don't know where he was between those two, but but he definitely knocked it out of the park for his second movie, starring we all know Michael Jordan as himself, Bugs Bunny as himself, Daffy Duck playing himself as well, Larry Bird, Bill Murray, Charles Barkley, Tweety Bird, all themselves. It's a fun romp. And also Swackhammer, voiced by Danny DeVito.
Oh.
Hey, 2 movies with Danny
Mhm.
DeVito today. Now, for those of you who don't know,
Mhm.
to refresh your memory, Danny DeVito's character, Swackhammer, is this evil alien theme park owner, and he needs a new attraction for Moron Mountain, where all the aliens live. And his gang, the Nerdlucks, head to Earth to kidnap Bugs Bunny and the Looney Tunes so they could be the new attraction for said Moron Mountain. But Bugs, being the wise guy that he is, challenges them to a game of basketball to determine whether or not they spend the rest of their existence at Moron Mountain. The aliens agree, and Bugs is in a panic because he's like, I don't know how to play basketball. None of us do. So who does he go to? Why? The multiple MVP, championship winning, sneaker brand owning Michael Jordan. Ladies and gentlemen, 5 stars on Letterboxd. That's my review. Thank you very much. No, not really. But an iconic titular song, Space Jam by the Quad City DJs. They knocked it out of the park.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
as catchy, dare I say, as Ghostbusters in Mortal Kombat. Not as immortal as Purple Rain, but hey, you know, we all sing it. Also, a big shout out to the use of I Believe I Can Fly in the opening credits by R. Kelly. Putting that in a kid's movie is
Oh.
cringeworthy on retrospect, but hey, why not? Let me tell you something. I saw this.
Bustin' makes you feel
Bustin'
good.
makes you feel good. Ian makes me feel good.
No.
Ooh. Guys,
Reel it back. So
Reel
I
it
saw this
back.
at a midnight screening. It wasn't the first time I saw this, but I was well into my 20s when Coolidge Corner Theater, beloved theater up here in Massachusetts, I don't know where the audience is listening from, but in case you're not someone we know immediately, Coolidge Corner Theater, great theater in Brookline, Mass. Does midnight movies. They played Space Jam for a midnight movie, and the house is on fire. It's just like NBA Jam. Friggin' when I Believe I Can Fly kicked on, everyone was clapping. They were singing along.
the lighters were out.
Exactly.
Mhm.
You know, the energy was great. I can't say much about the movie because, you know, it's just, you can't really comment on perfection, but I can. It's just a fun romp. You know, I didn't know people hated this movie until I was, you know, in college. And then they're like, that movie sucks. And I'm like, what? What do you mean people hate this movie? I owned the Michael Jordan action figure that was made for this movie. I owned a Toon Squad shirt. I was all about this movie for years. I didn't know people would giving it 2 to 1 star ratings on Letterboxd. You know that?
Well, they were probably not the target audience. Like, this movie was definitely pointed towards kids, and the Looney Tunes were huge in the 90s. I think that phenomenon must have started with this movie, if not only exacerbated itself.
Yeah, I think it was they were trying to reawaken or revitalize the Looney Tunes.
Tiny Toons was a thing, the Tasmanian cartoon, like they were all over being reinvented. Yeah. I remember watching I'm watching the news too. Watch a news segment that was like Looney Tunes are hot now, showing kids buying t-shirts and stuff. So if you saw it later in life or didn't see it when it was hot, you might have some rage that it exists, but it was very important for its time for the people who saw it.
And that was me.
And so, yeah, and Michael Jordan too. He was also huge. I didn't watch basketball. Plenty of kids that didn't even know sports knew who he was. He was just that in the public lexicon. He was just
Yeah,
there.
definitely. I mean, it's weird that he did this movie because he, at least when he started in his career, because I watched basketball in the 90s, which is a huge surprise to everyone because I don't usually watch sports, but
Who are you?
who am I? I just unzip like a Looney Tune. It's like, it's me, Swackhammer. So he was he had this weird thing about his likeness being used in things. So he wasn't in the original NBA Jam, which is another iconic 90s video game. So if you were to choose the Chicago Bulls, it would be Scottie Pippen, and I forget the guy that they ended up just giving it Michael Jordan stats. But I guess he, felt fine after a while being in the spotlight because now he owns a sneaker company and, hey, is now in a movie for kids. So, hey, how about that? I love everything about this movie. It's just so dumb and silly. The fact that they actually spit shine a broken down gymnasium in Toonland, and then he tricks them by filling up a water bottle and, giving them the stuff to be badass when it was all in their head to begin with. And then the fact that Bill Murray comes out of nowhere to help save the day. There's a sequel coming. I don't think it's going to match the magic, but I'm optimistic. I'll watch it. But the Space Jam 1996, it's going to be great. It's coming on 4K too. And, I haven't watched it since I saw it in Coolidge all those years ago. And then before that, it was probably on VHS. So I'm just primed to rediscover this again. And hopefully it finds its new audience. So Space Jam 1996. That's my outpouring of love and my grand slam for this amazing episode of the Midnight Cast. I almost forgot what we were called for a second. Anyway, Katron, what's your second pick?
My second pick, I regard in my heart to be a really big one, but I forget that not everybody has the same association as I with movies, the same experience. But this movie was big to me when I did see it. This is Killer Klowns from Outer Space.
Yes.
So this movie, so good. From 1988. This movie is amazing. If you've never seen it, please do yourself the favor. I think this is a movie that I take advantage of that it exists. I've certainly seen it many times throughout my life, and it is so special and important of a film. And especially for people that don't like clowns, people who just hear the name of this movie like, oh, I can't. There's people, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who have a fear of clowns just from hearing the name of this film. I don't think there are people who have seen it and they're like, no, I hate this movie. So the fear of clowns is a thing, I guess, that people
Yeah,
have.
it is. I can attest.
Oh, see, Miss Jenny. Have you seen this film?
Yes, way too young. I think that attributes to it, actually.
That might be a part of it. This movie is written, directed, produced, and special effects done by the Chiodo brothers. Am I saying that right? Chiodo brothers?
I think so.
They're a group of 3 brothers who worked on this film. And if Killer Klowns from Outer Space doesn't spell out for you what this film is about, it's about some clowns from space who have every clown joke in the book used in this film. If you can think of it, it is used in this movie and probably to kill people. They are killing people with popcorn, cotton candy, hitting people with cream pies, as well as also murdering everybody.
My favorite part is the ice cream, where they throw pies at the guy and then they just randomly put a cherry on top. It's such a good stick. The timing's so
Yes. They really did their clown research and put some loving clownness into it. I think that this movie is super fun and super important. And for people that don't like clowns, don't like clown movies, I think you can kind of watch it because it's silly. Like, it's not like they're not like super horrific. They're just grotesque looking, but it's really funny. It's only rated PG-13 too, which surprised me when I realized that. But at the most, they're just comically murdering people, and it's really a cartoon, but real life. It's very influenced by the movies of the 50s and 60s that were kind of silly, I was a teenage werewolf kind of thing. This was definitely during the whole 80s remembering the 50s revival. So that's a great twist to this movie too. The beginning of it is actually very, very similar to the original Blob, 1958 Blob movie, which is another movie that has a song with the name of the movie in the song. It's got a nice, silly little ditty for it that I didn't choose, but I just want to let you know it does exist. The song for this movie is by the band The Dickies, which are an American punk band. They actually started in 1977, and in 1988 they were still going. They were still popular, and all the punks were still jamming out to The Dickies. This song, if you've ever heard it, will get stuck in your head as well. It's got that little like carnival calliope do 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 on the beginning. It just pulls you right in, and then it becomes this silly punk song. It's produced a bit more than your average punk song, I think, but it's still got that punk flavor to it. The singer's voice is very like nasally and fun, but the lyrics are all very carnival-esque and great. I love the line, P.T. Barnum said it so long ago, there's one born every minute, don't you know? What is that? What's there's one of what born every minute? Jet Mike, I know you know this. A sucker.
sucker.
Mm-hmm.
Sucker born every minute. Supposedly P.T. Barnum said that. I don't know if that's actually true, but it's always been attributed to him.
Mm.
And that they did some like circus research to sit down to write the Killer Clowns from Outer Space song, or had that circus knowledge. Makes me really happy. There's a degree of trying to imagine this punk band sitting down and writing the Killer Clowns from Outer Space song and including some of these things that just hits me in the heart. My cold black heart grows a little bit warmer.
Grows 2 sizes that day.
It sure does. It's just, I think the song comes at the very beginning of the movie and then definitely right at the end as the credits are rolling. The fact that the Dickies were involved did give the movie an extra like cult boost from the punk kids at the time.
And rockabilly, I'd say.
Yeah, very rockabilly, yes, definitely. So picturing those 80s movie theaters filled with these kids with their little leather jackets and mohawks and piercings and whatnot. Oh, it's so good.
It was on one of DJ Toadie's playlists when we did Hollow Boogie last year, when MRS did their Halloween kind of festivities. There was a virtual dance party during COVID, and that was one of the songs on there. And it was great. It's great to hear that again.
I do think it belongs on every Halloween soundtrack as well. It's just so spooky and silly, and you can dance to it. It's great. There's actually a 5-song EP that this was released on, including the song. And they're all like circusy and about clowns and stuff.
Ooh.
And I haven't researched all of them, but I listened to a couple and they sound great. I have to go back a little bit further to deeper my Killer Clowns from Outer Space knowledge.
Yeah, clown fear is weird. It's not like I'm like, oh my god, it's a clown. Ugh. You know, like seeing a clown in a movie is fine. It gives me a little creepy feeling, and usually I have to watch something else after before I go to bed, or it'll be bad news. But if I see a clown, say I'm at like Spooky World, not Spooky World, that doesn't even exist anymore. Oh my god! If I'm somewhere at like in a haunted house or something, and a clown is anywhere near me, they will be punched in the face. So I should put a disclaimer, like pinned to me, like no clowns need apply. Thank you.
And it's not like they haven't always been creepy. They're there to make you laugh, but there's just something disturbing about a painted on smile.
So
and the clothes
disturbing.
and sad clown paintings on velvet.
Yeah.
But this movie, I think, balances it out with fun. I would hope. Sure, they are like killing people and using them as puppets and splattering blood all over the walls, but in like a fun way, you know? There's a great music video for the song that I recently discovered. I didn't know until maybe a few years ago. I looked it up, and it's great. The singer is dressed as a ringmaster, and the rest of the band are backing him up. They're in jail for some reason. I don't think we find out why, but they're all jamming in a jail cell. They have the costumed clowns from the movie also appearing, as they're all hanging out. It's worth a watch if you can find it on YouTube.
I'm checking that out. That's cool. I didn't know there's a video.
Oh, it's so good. There's some film clips too, as per usual. Before I move on, I do want to share one more favorite line from this song. If you've ever wondered why the population's going down, blame it on the plunder from the likes of the killer clowns from outer space. There is a pause in the song, and then they just have to remind you from outer space. So yeah, you've got sci-fi horror, which of course is popular in the news because we just talked about Hellraiser Bloodline. This is technically sci-fi horror because they are aliens and they are out killing people. So that's my second pick. It's a great song and a fun film as well.
Absolutely. And just researching, I found out that the Sci-Fi Channel, I think it was 2018, that they were talking about purchasing the rights to Kill Clowns from Outer Space in order to make a sequel to it.
Yes.
So I don't know the status on that business transaction, but I'd be game for a sequel.
I could totally see that, especially after its popularity. Like they're begging, like the public is begging for it.
Yeah, I think they were making some traction on it, and I think even the Chiodo brothers were involved or were willing to be involved. But I think COVID maybe interrupted some of that, if that was going to be a thing.
Thanks, COVID.
I do have another fun fact about Killer Clowns. Some of the masks or the mask molds were reused for the Ernest Scared Stupid movie.
Oh, yes! I totally forgot about that.
If you've noticed, some of the trolls in that movie kind of look like the clowns. That's why.
That is one of my favorite movies of all time, Ernest Scared Stupid.
It's a wonderful film.
And I'm amazed at that. That's so cool. It's such a cool little tidbit. Thank you, guys.
Mm-hmm. No problem.
In our continuing series of Dave's Late to the Boat, I saw Ernest Scared Stupid for the first time. Was it last year?
Last year we watched half of it. You fell asleep.
No, it wasn't. It couldn't have been last year.
Yeah.
That was the year before when we first got HBO Max. And we watched it really late at night after a long shift I had. And I just kind of passed out.
And I was glued to the screen like a 7-year-old, like, oh, I love this movie. And then I look back, he's snoozing. I'm like, it's not that bad. But then
it wasn't bad at all. No. When I finally watched it when I could stay awake, it was fantastic.
You can definitely see, I guess it's spoiler, but at the end, when you see all of the troll children, they definitely look like the killer clowns. Like there's so many similarities.
Oh, yes.
A little paint job change, but that's probably about it. And probably height change. I don't think they're as tall as some of the clowns were. They're tiny little trolls with boogies.
Definitely a lot more hairier too.
That is one of my all-time favorite endings of a movie of all time. And I'm not going to give anything away, but just go and watch it because it's wonderful. It's so hokey and so beautiful.
Absolutely. And one last tidbit about Killer Clowns is I don't know how true this is, so never mind. But I was going to say, I think the Dickies re-recorded the theme song for the Arrow Blu-ray that just came out. I don't know what was up with the elements for the original song, but the Dickies were like, yeah, we'll just re-record it for you and you can use it again. And there you go.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I can't find a source on that or where I found it originally, but whatever. We'll print the myth.
I think I did see on a DVD or Blu-ray that I have an interview with the Chiodo brothers, who they did all the practical effects in this movie, and they're amazing. They're so great. And they said, well, people like to complain with CG. It looks more quote unquote real, but they're like, well, everything looks a little fake and a little real. It's just depending on what you want. So they were even like probably willing to go a little bit CG maybe in Killer Clowns 2 or whatever it might be, the reboot of Clowns. But it's just kind of a nice note to think of, that you can go very far with practical or CG, just depending on what you're going for.
I was at a Horror Hound convention, I don't know, a bunch of years ago, maybe like 2012, and they had a bunch of screen used props and costumes and whatnot, and they had some clown ones. And yeah, they look fabulous even after all these years. So I mean, I'm a practical fan.
Yeah. Thank you, Kaya. Jet Mike, what's your second pick?
All right, we're going back to the 80s. Just barely. This is from 1980, right on the dot.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Yes. So I went with a movie that we saw in a movie night probably a couple years ago now, called Midnight Madness.
Yes.
A movie that a lot of people think is called The Great All-Nighter, and I also did for many years when I was younger, but it is called Midnight Madness. So it is a comedy. It was the song Midnight Madness, which pops up right at it's the opening credits. The song plays over them, which is a very handy device to get you going in the movie. Let me see. So the main lyrics of the song, when Midnight Madness starts to get to you, doesn't matter what you say, doesn't matter what you do, you got to play. And that's basically what it is. This is a scavenger hunt. Stars David Naughton from American Werewolf in London. Michael J. Fox in his first film role, very, very young baby face Michael J. Fox.
Oh yes, he was so adorable in that. He was such a baby.
Oh yes. Stephen First, who's one of those, I've seen him in everything kind of characters. He was in Animal House and some other things. Eddie Deason, same thing. He played the quote unquote nerd in pretty much every 80s movie ever made. And the first credited film role for Mr. Paul Rubens, aka
That's
Pee Wee
right.
Herman.
Yeah.
Wow.
Man, I totally forgot about this movie when we watched it. It's such a powerhouse of stars.
Yeah, it is great. My favorite Pee Wee Herman part is he was the arcade worker, and if you needed quarters, you would give him the money, and he had a gun, and he would shoot the quarters into your hand. And he did that to somebody, and then he went, "Scared you, didn't I?" in his Pee Wee kind of voice, and it was great. But anyway, let's talk about some plot going on. So you've got several college teams, and they're separated, as the 80s did, into stereotypes. So you have the jock team, the nerd team, etc. And they were competing in the Great All-Nighter. And it was a scavenger hunt around Los Angeles. And it was all put together by this older guy named Leon, and we never really understand what Leon's deal is. But he ran the show, and there's a subplot about the landlady of the apartment building wanting to kick him out because of all the noise and stuff that he was doing. But he told all the other tenants about it, and they started having a party in his room. So great. But it is one of those 80s wacky comedies, but it's just a great feel-good movie too. I talked to, at a show once, I saw Brian Frischman, who played a character called Barf. And
I love it.
He said that this was the reason that Disney created Buena Vista as their little sub print, because this was a PG rated film, and Disney wanted to be tagged only for G rated movies. And so this movie was the reason, because there was a lot of innuendo and whatnot, even for a PG film. But PG meant a different thing in the 80s because there was no PG-13 yet.
Yes.
So this film is why Buena Vista was created. So if you see a Buena Vista film, it's actually a Disney movie. It's not gotten a Blu-ray release as of yet. It does exist on DVD, and you can buy it online or rent it online or what have you. But it's an incredibly funny movie. One of those Heart of Gold films.
I liked it when we watched this movie. Besides it having that song and with the name of the movie and the song right in the beginning that explains to you exactly what the film is going to be about, which I was already like, yes, I'm going to love this movie. It's a movie that everything happens in one night. It's just one big adventure that's almost like in real time.
Yep.
And I love films that do that. So I do remember loving that. And even like you said, it's right at the beginning of this movie. And I distinctly remember people in short shorts wearing roller skates passing out flyers
Yep.
to get people to join the scavenger hunt with this music going. And it just like, it's burned into my brain. I can remember the Pee Wee part. I can remember little baby Michael J. Fox getting like pushed into a van or something. Like these little things that I remember distinctly, and most especially that beginning because the song was running through it.
It's tense too. The whole climax about who's going to win in the end, and whatever. I'm certainly not going to say who wins, but it's great. Like I met David Naughton at a show, and I didn't want an American Werewolf thing signed. I wanted my Midnight Madness DVD signed because that was
Did he
that.
comment on it?
He did not really comment on it. He was, if I'm being honest, he was looking at the girl in line behind me that was much more attractive than I was. So,
Aw.
it wasn't the greatest. but I met him again years later, and he was very nice to me. So, 50-50.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a wonderful movie. It was one of those films that you saw every day because it's HBO and that's what they do back then. So I'd watch it every day, and I mean, it came out in '80. I don't know when HBO picked it up because that there was still the early days of cable and whatnot. But when it stopped playing for years and years, I was like, man, what was that movie? And I also thought it was The Great All-Nighter because that's what you did. And then finally, I was in the video store with a friend when I was a teenager, and there it was. And we were like, whoa, that's that movie. And I got to reconnect with it and find out the real name of it. And then it went from there. So we had a little reunion that night, and it was great.
And why is it that people think that's the title? Is that what they call the big scavenger hunt? Yeah.
That's the race. Yeah, that's the big scavenger hunt.
Right on. Cool. Thank you, Mike. I'll have to revisit it. Unfortunately, it's not on Disney Plus.
No, not yet. I saw you can buy and rent it on YouTube. So there's at least one platform that has it.
Yeah, Amazon, Fango, Apple. So all the VOD services, it looks like. But come on, Disney, give me some of those sweet gems.
I'm sure they have other Buena Vista titled films on there. I mean, it's less violent than the Marvel movies. Just saying.
And they're all in there in spades. But
there might be more sexual innuendo in this one, though.
I can't comment on the sexual innuendos on Marvel movies,
The
but
whole movie is a sexual innuendo.
yeah, they're wearing tight spandex. Guardians 2, it's all spent inside of a weird alien. So hey, how about that? All right, well, thank you, Mike. Jenny.
Our next podcast episode should be movies with spandex as the main character.
That'd be like 6 hours long.
I know. Goodness, I'm ready. I'm so ready for that. I was born ready. So my next movie is a little left field. It is from 2006. It is a beautiful deep dive. I found it when I was working at Newbury Comics, and I found it. Yeah, I definitely didn't see it in the theater. I wasn't too young. I just found it in like the cheapo bin, the cheapo DVD bin. And I was like, what? On the cover, you see Samuel L. Jackson and Christina Ricci, like sweaty, dirty. There's a chain on Christina Ricci that Samuel L. Jackson is holding. And it is called Black Snake Moan.
Whoa.
She done cut it out. Got rid of it. That voice in my head, every time I think it's gone, it comes howling back. Calls me when I'm ailing. Can't find my way home. Lost in the pines. I calls it the Black Snake Moan. Black snake all in my room. black snake all in my room. Some birdie mama better get this black snake soon.
Anyone seen that?
No, I have
here?
not.
Never seen it.
I think it was marketed terribly, so I'm not surprised. It's a 2006, did I say 2005? 2006 American black comedy / drama, starring Christina Ricci, Samuel Jackson, also Justin Timberlake, amazingly, plus a ton of other weird cameos as well. But this movie blew me away for so many reasons. It's really one of a kind. I've never seen anything like it, to be honest, for a million other reasons. But it's one of those movies that fits in the weird niche category, which this could also be another episode. Write this shit down, because we got to remember this. Movies that either one of the main stars wrote music for or started a musical career from. What, like a movie star writing music. Say, Bruce Willis had his own album or a few albums, Steven Seagal, Tim Curry, and I'm not sure those three, if they wrote them from a movie or if they had musical careers beforehand. It's something to look into. I just remember working at Newbury Comics, thumbing through the $3 CD bin, and Bruce Willis's album came up. I think it's called like Coming Right Up or something cheese-tastic. Oh, it's so hammy.
The cover is pretty wonderful. If you can Google that, it's great.
Yeah, he does some covers, and I'm not here to talk about Bruce Willis though. I'm here to talk about Samuel L. Jackson writing 4 songs for this movie, learning blues guitar for this movie from, I think, 4 different blues teachers. I couldn't find their names anywhere. There's not a lot of good research online, or I didn't dig deep enough, but he learned blues guitar for this movie, and that's wonderful. Christina Ricci starved herself for this movie so that she would look really emaciated, and Samuel L. Jackson learned blues guitar for this movie. Isn't that just wonderful? The film focuses on Mississippi bluesman Jackson, who holds a troubled local woman, Ricci, nymphomaniac, captive in his house in an attempt to cure her of her nymphomania after finding her severely beaten on the side of the road. It's directed by Craig Brewer, whose first movie was Hustle and Flow. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Okay, and so that was his first movie. His first big movie, and then he made Black Snake Moan, and then he went on to do a Footloose remake, a Katy Perry documentary, and the best 2 from 2019-2021, Dolomite Is My Name.
Nice.
Which is the kind of, I don't know if it's like a mockumentary about Rudy Ray Moore, and Coming to America, which I have not seen yet, which I want to see, which is the second Eddie Murphy Coming to America film, which I think was direct. They're both direct to Netflix, if I'm not mistaken. But Black Snake Moan is so good. The titular title track, Black Snake Moan, Samuel L. Jackson wrote. I could not find if he actually wrote the lyrics or if he just did the music, but he, I believe, based it off of a Blind Lemon Jefferson blues song by the same name. So I'm not sure if the lyrics are taken from that or similar, but it's badass. He is so full of pain and hate for his wife who left him and aborted their baby, and it's just, he is trying to save this nymphomaniac, troubled white girl. He chains her to his furnace, and all hell breaks loose. So, yeah.
I'll have to see that.
Check it out. It's a one-of-a-kind film. I don't know how it got made. I don't know how it disappeared, and nobody's ever seen it except for me. But that was the best, $3.99 movie of, me, digging through the bargain bins. But the soundtrack's great. I think it has not only Samuel L. R.L. Burnside, North Mississippi All Stars. So it's pretty stacked, honestly. I do listen to the soundtrack by itself, and it holds up pretty well for some amazing Southern blues. Yeah, that's my pick.
Yeah. Available to watch on Amazon Prime.
And Newbury Comics still exists, so maybe go dive through their bargain DVD bin if they have any left. Who knows? You might find it.
Yeah, definitely. It was a lot of fun when all things considered, when you showed it to me, Jenny, a few years ago now. But I remember it came out the same year as Snakes on a Plane, so 2006.
Couldn't be more different.
Couldn't be more different. But I almost thought it was when it came out. I was like, oh, this is going to be one of those.
Yeah, it's not a comedy. It's a black.
Those grindhouse movies where it catches you
Super
with the title.
grindhouse. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Midnight Dave.
Snakes on a Plane is a little bit more of the tongue-in-cheek, but this one's a little bit more, I guess you could compare it to, say, like a Jack Hill type of movie. Say like a Coffee or Pit Stop, dare I say. You know, a little bit more grimy, but actually has a story to it.
Yeah, the story's amazing. The acting's amazing. It's about like the retribution of two very unassuming and opposite characters that have to kind of help each other get through it. So it's got a lot of heart for as much grime as it has. Yeah, it's definitely it's dirty. You know, it's rated R, I believe. So not for the kiddies.
No, just for the 13-year-olds. Anyway. Anyway, thank you, Jenny.
Yeah.
So my second pick, it's a hit. It's a bit obscure. Speaking of Jack Hill, my pick is Foxy Brown from 1974.
Nice.
Starring Pam Grier and Sid Haig. Now, I prefer Coffee, the movie he did the year before, 1973, with Pam Grier, but I love the music in Foxy Brown more. Titular song, Foxy Brown, Willie Hutch of Motown fame, friggin' kills it on this track. You know, the opening bass line, the drums, it's great. It gets you cheery. It makes you want to yell it out the window, you know, wherever you're going. You know, it just makes you want to ride in a topless Cadillac, honestly.
Ride topless in a Cadillac? Is that what you're saying?
Or ride a topless Cadillac, or both. Why not ride topless in a topless Cadillac? You know, why not? Why not? No one? Okay, whatever.
I'm here for you.
So it's great. And for those who haven't seen it, I thought the summary on Letterboxd was pretty apropos. So let me just read it verbatim. A voluptuous black woman takes a job as a high-class prostitute in order to get revenge on the mobsters who murdered her boyfriend. That's pretty concise without going too deep into it. It's just great. You see Pam Grier being Pam Grier and all that entails, just being a strong, kick-ass lady. Great undercover story. You get to see Sig Haig kind of sort of baby-faced. He's got a nice cleaned up goatee in this one and a hell of a fedora. Many great hats, we'll just say. And this one's great. It's got a great use of an airplane in the climactic scene, which I won't go too much into, but it's a satisfying ending. It is probably, it's a fun romp. Again, I don't like it as much as Coffee, which is just killer. Jack Hill definitely had a budget for Foxy, and, you know, he is fine-tuning all of the themes and elements that he dealt with Coffee in Foxy Brown, but I feel that it's a lot more raw and has a lot more of that kinetic energy in Coffee than in Foxy Brown. It's a little bit more like almost too polished at times, but still great, still highly recommended. Even though Coffee does have a good riff. I guess I'm just recommending the two in tandem. Because why not?
They're a great back-to-back double feature.
They really are.
I mean, really, anything Jack Hill is the man. He's, you know, top 3 directors. You know, he can do and has done any genre, and he's all about, you know, female empowerment, especially in decades when that wasn't a big thing. He made
Right.
it a big thing. Jack Hill is the man.
Right. And, Switchblade Sisters in particular, female gang of strong ladies tearing misogyny a new asshole, as I like to put it. Yeah, another great one, which actually got a release from Arrow this month. I think it comes out on Tuesday. We're recording this on the Sunday. So that's going to be pretty widely available soon. But for Foxy Brown, if you want to watch Foxy Brown, it's on my favorite streaming service, Tubi, free with ads, worth looking into. And I think it's available to buy on Amazon and Apple as well. And I believe the Arrow Blu-ray is still available as well. And if you're gonna buy the Blu-ray, pick up Coffee, because that's pretty sweet. Yeah, that's a great
Good song as well.
great song. Coffee is the
Dark.
color of her skin.
I also have Foxy Brown lyrics open, so I'll just give you a little piece because it's so good.
Read me that poetry.
No, but please don't make Foxy mad, or you'll find out that the lady is super bad. Ha ha, super bad. Hey, 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 Foxy. Hey, Foxy, Miss Foxy Brown. Hey, girl, you're the kind of woman that a man needs around. So good. So catchy.
And so apropos of not only Foxy Brown, but Pam Grier. She's great. Also, any Tarantino fans, because you're always around. Was it Jackie Brown? Totally riffing off of, also starring Pam Grier, also starring Sid Haig, and what I consider his best movie. Yeah, that's right. Tarantino's best movie.
I agree with you. That's we can fight everybody else together, because you're totally right.
Amen. Yeah, at me. Write me in the mail. Dave at midnightromerosociety.org.
I think Lady Snowblood was his best movie. Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, you mean the two movies that he ripped off Lady Snowblood with? Yeah.
We're gonna get some hate mail from this.
Look, I love all the Tarantino movies, but I do think Jackie Brown is his best.
It's so good.
Absolutely.
And also, how about getting back to Foxy? How, as a big MASH fan, it was great to see the good guy psychiatrist from MASH being the scummy drug lord.
Oh yes,
the drug lord pimp in this one.
I didn't know you were a MASH fan.
Oh man, that's my favorite
that makes
sitcom.
me so happy, because that was my mom's favorite, and we would watch it together. That's great.
Yeah,
I love it. That's a deep cut. I didn't realize that. Whoa.
Yeah.
Could you tell me what MASH stands for?
Mobile Army Surgical Hospital.
Very good. He's a fan. He passes everyone.
I couldn't have done that. I'm not that big of a fan. I'm a loose fan. I'm a on the sidelines fan of MASH.
I'm the guy that watched one episode of MASH. I thought it was really good because it was on Nick at Night, but that was a rare occasion where I could be up that late when I was that young. It was the episode where they have to hide underground and they're with the baby. A totally messed up episode for a young kid to watch. But I won't spoil it for anyone. But it's a good episode. But maybe it was just a little dark for me. And then actually, I was a horror kid. What am I talking about? I'm surprised I didn't watch more MASH because of it.
Wait, did you watch the one where they had to hide in the cave, or the one where they were on the bus with the baby?
I think it was the cave. It seemed like it was underground or like hiding from a patrolling, because it's Vietnam, right? So it would be the Viet Cong.
It's Korea, but
it's Korea. Korean War. Okay, there you go. The baby's crying and they're trying to make it stop crying because they would hear it.
Dude, you watched the series finale.
I watched the series finale first?
Yes.
Wow.
That's like me with Twin Peaks. I watched A Fire Walk with Me before I saw any of the show.
You're not supposed to do that.
I know, no one told me. My roommate was like, "Oh, you'll be fine. Doesn't matter."
They lied to you.
Wow. I mean, I don't remember much about it now besides that plot point, so maybe it's not too bad to go back and
the early series.
It's so good.
Yeah, the early seasons were the most funny, and then they introduced some seriousness into it, and it was a nice mix. But the series finale was like 2.5 hours long, so it's a long bit, and you know they had to hit you with the hard stuff to end well.
Just like Lost. Nope. Am I the only Loster here?
I've not seen it.
You have to tell me, what does LOST stand for?
K-Tron, you've never seen it either?
I saw parts of it, but I didn't get into it. And by the time it was even in my radar, it was entirely too late.
Gotcha. So I'm not saying it's the best show written on the planet, but I'm saying at the time that it was on, it was rather titillating, and you wanted to know what was going to happen. And then at the end, you knew. And that's all I'll say about that. But it was a wild ride. It was definitely a wild ride. Yeah, anyway, I'm not going to talk about Lost. Like, that could be a whole sub podcast in itself. I think there are Lost podcasts, like there has to be, or at least were once upon a time.
Here I go, stumble and bumble again. Anyway, that's my pick. Foxy Brown, 1974, music by Willie Hutch. Check out the soundtrack, man. The whole thing's wonderful.
So we're back at the top, and actually, this kind of goes back to Topless Cadillacs that you mentioned earlier. This is a Topless Cadillac film. This is 1983's Losing It. No G. Losin apostrophe, Losing It. Has anybody heard of this movie or seen it?
That was also my third pick.
No.
Whoa,
Way.
a crossover?
This is great. Jet Mike, you're the best. This movie, I will preface with, this is probably the movie that made me notice that there were movies with songs with the name of the movie in the song, because this just beats you over the head with Losing It. You see Tom Cruise wake up, hit his alarm clock, and Losing It is on the screen, as well as the song popping in immediately, screaming at you, Losing It. Jet Mike, I'll start a little bit. I'll give you the cast, a little bit of synopsis, and I'll let you pop in because I mentioned Tommy Cruise. So we'll continue. This movie stars Tom Cruise as Woody, Jackie Earle Haley as Dave, John Stackwell as Spider, and John P. Navin as Wendell, with Shelley Long of Cheers fame as Kathy. So this is a movie made in 1983, set in 1965. So this is another like nostalgia-y kind of movie. And it's about these friends who are going to go to Tijuana, Mexico, with the plan of losing it being their precious male virginities. So
what about Shelley Long? She didn't want to lose her.
She is looking for a quick divorce. So they all have a reason to get down to Mexico. And actually, I think one of the boys that are in this Topless Cadillac going to Tijuana only wants to go for fireworks. So he's not out for losing it. He just wants a different kind of big bang. So go ahead, Mike, jump in.
I was going to say too, to be fair, also Jackie Earle Haley, he is going there for that, but he's also going to get a tuck and roll on his car, the Cadillac in question.
What's a tuck and roll?
He's going to get it like nicely detailed with some new upholstery. And apparently he knows just the place in Tijuana that does it just right. So that's the side part, because that's the only reason really Wendell is coming, because he's the kid brother. He does want fireworks, but he also has to watch the car and make sure they don't put, is it manure?
Oh, I can't remember.
They don't line it with manure.
That's what they stuffed the seats with. Was that what it was?
Yes. Yeah. And you don't know until you get back over the border and you're like, oh no. So that's what he thinks is going to happen. That's the paranoia. But of course, Wendell's not going to just sit there. And they meet up with Shelley Long, who hitches a ride with them because they were shoplifting from the convenience store that she owned with her husband that she wanted the divorce from. And they were very successful in shoplifting because they were arguing in the store while they were shoplifting, so they're not going to notice.
This movie is basically they were trying to make another Porky's, but in the 60s with a Cadillac. Like the poster for this movie is the Cadillac with a woman's foot dangling a shoe. It's very it's telling you what
With
it is. This is
fishnets. I just looked at it.
it's a sex comedy romp that they were going for. So if you didn't know that Tom Cruise was in one of those, he is. This was actually his 4th film. So very early Tom Cruise. He just came off of Outsiders. And then I think did Risky Business right after this.
He did Risky Business and All the Right Moves. 1983 was his breakout year, and this was one of the 4 breakout movies for him. Probably the lowest box office.
Yeah. This
4.
movie was definitely a flop. It did not do what they wanted it to do. It did not become Porky's 7 or whatever they were going for. They tried, I guess. Didn't work. It does have tons of things that would not fly in today's film. They do go looking for Spanish fly, as you do. I do distinctly remember the kids being like, "Oh, you got to be careful about Spanish fly. You know, I heard somebody that gave it to a girl and left her alone in the car, and then they came back and she was dead on the gear shaft." And like, it's such a horrific visual. Spanish fly, if you've never heard, it's this thing that doesn't really exist. It's supposed to be some sort of aphrodisiac that you can slip a woman to make her uncontrollably filled with sexual urges, which is exactly what this film is about.
All right.
Yeah, woohoo, losing it.
Just to throw you some of the grade A lyrics for this song,
Please do.
which again, like Katron said, you hear this refrain a lot in the movie. So there's losing it, using it, abusing it, having the time of your life. And then they say it again, and then south of the borderline.
South of the borderline. Just like that.
Ooh.
In general, film fans and horror fans too, especially, will appreciate the cameo from Joe Spinell from Maniac, Taxi Driver, Rocky, etc. He's a border guard.
Nice.
I do have another lyric chunk to give you. School bells ringing, rev up your motor, boys. Gonna get out of here. Ready to party, and there's a word I can't interpret. I'm not sure what it is. Something to the wind. Women, wine, and beer. Like this.
I would think, Kaya, it would be dicks to the wind. That's my interpretation. But
Right.
I haven't.
Get ready to party. Dicks to the wind. Women, wine, and beer. Yeah. Yep.
fits.
You know what? That's probably it.
Fits. You know, if the shoe fits.
If the shoe and the Spanish fly, the gear shaft, if it all fits.
That's absolute poetry.
I would guess that of the 1983 Tom Cruise movies, Risky Business probably did the best box office, at least initially. Maybe The Outsiders, but I kind of feel like that might have done more later on. But either of those two.
He has such a tiny role in Outsiders too that it almost doesn't count as Tom Cruise. He's not the boy as he is in this film.
Yeah, and Risky Business was his movie.
Mhm.
But I would say The Outsiders is just Hall of Fame for me. But of those 4, not counting Outsiders, I'd say this is my favorite.
I think I ended up watching it from looking at the TV guide, seeing the name and thinking that looks like an interesting name, and seeing that it was a Tom Cruise 80 movie, and thought, all right, I'll tune in. And when I did, I was like, this is not whatever I was expecting it to be, but I did watch it.
This for me was one of those movies. You know, I went through that thing as a kid. Hopefully more people do that. Where, like, Shelley Long was in it, but she was Diane from Cheers is in this movie, and Tom Cruise was his Outsiders guy is in this movie, and then all kinds of stuff. I watched Big Red 1 because Luke Skywalker was in it. That's just how I got into movies as a kid. And so that's why I watched this movie. And I can't stop watching this movie 40 years later or whatever it is.
Jackie Earle Haley was also in Bad News Bears. I believe John P. Navin was in National Lampoon's Vacation and the Silver Spoons TV show. So like these people were kind of around and doing things. And that's maybe they were trying to go for like ensemble casts and just didn't quite pull it together. But this movie was filmed mostly in Calexico, That's at the border of California and Mexico, Cal-Exico, which is north of Mexicali. So I think Calexico is in the US and Mexicali is in Mexico. And they're towns that are very meshed together. So you got a lot of the culture there. So they probably didn't, they didn't have to do the let's go to Mexico to film the Mexican movie when you got Calexico right there.
Was this before or after Top Gun?
Before.
Was this before or after Legend?
Before.
Oh, really?
Tom Cruise had,
Yeah.
After like the 1983 breakout craziness, his next big movies weren't till 86 and on.
Whoa.
It's almost like
I
he
thought
had,
it was a baby. I thought Legend was his first. All right.
No,
My whole
he's
life
even
is
more
a
of
lie.
a baby
My
here.
whole life is a lie.
I mean,
He was in Endless Love, Taps, Outsiders, then Losing It, Risky Business, All the Right Moves, Legend, Top Gun.
What?
Yep.
That blows my mind.
he's even more
I don't know if I
baby-faced in this one.
Yes, because he's
Dang.
just a
alright.
couple years younger.
I want to see that now.
It's definitely worth a watch just to see.
I love that
for
you guys
your
both had that on your list as
Your-
your top. That is awesome.
Tom Cruise. I mean, I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but it's definitely one that I had to include because it was such a great example of exactly what I'm looking for. The person who wrote the song was by the Jeff Allen Band. His name is actually Jeff Allen Silverman. And I found him responding to a YouTube video of a fan video of the opening of this movie with the song playing. So he's on there. If you go look up this movie, if you look up Losing It and look up the Jeff Allen Band, this will pop up and he's there commenting saying, oh, I remember when I recorded this. Apparently he's got a recording studio in Nashville now, but was greatly
Hmm.
a big fan of this song that he made for this movie.
Also not, I didn't research if it's streaming anywhere, but it's kind of lost to although it did get a Blu-ray release last year or the year before. I was very excited about that.
Ooh, it is. I've found it on at least one of the compilation DVDs where it's like a bunch of 80s sex romp comedies, and it's on like a 6-pack or something. But finding it individually, I think, is kind of difficult since not as many people hold it so dearly.
Yeah, I'm looking up now. There's nothing streaming. It's not available on VOD, so nothing digitally. In terms of Blu-ray, it's a region B, or at least...
No, mine's all region.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Why can I only find it on Amazon UK?
it's looks like Kino Lorber if I'm trying to read it from here.
I'm only going by what Letterboxd is telling me, and sometimes they're very, very wrong, as this proves. So, all right, yeah, so it's available on Blu-ray
And on a DVD 6-pack.
and on a DVD 6-pack somewhere.
The films on here are Valley Girl, The Rachel Papers, Losing It, Last American Virgin, Class, and Zapped.
Wow.
There it is. I just found it. It is $24.97 on Amazon, or you can buy it from another seller for $19.
Look, it's worth it, everybody.
Get on it. Once this podcast goes out, it'll be flying off the shelves.
All right.
Absolutely.
Mike, we're going to swap. You're going to give me Let Us Borrow Losing It, and I'm going to give you Black Snake Moan to borrow.
That I can do.
It's a good swap.
Tomorrow, are we hanging out tomorrow?
Wait, what?
Wait, what?
You said tomorrow, didn't you?
No?
No, I said no.
I mean, if you want to come to my work and we can have a movie party,
You want to
that's
hang
way
out in the
better.
post office?
How come you guys didn't invite me? I mean, it's okay. But
Oh, Kai, I'm sorry. Okay, John, you can come
it's
too.
alright.
Come on
I'll
down
go.
or up.
It's fine. We'll do a triple swap. I'll throw in something weird.
All right. I'm down.
Throw in Zapped.
All day long. We were throwing
I
around
do
the
own that
idea-
as well, actually. I haven't watched it yet, but I do own it.
We're throwing around the idea of having, once the weather gets a little warmer, outdoor movie night
Nice.
Ooh.
Yes, because we have the
with our
screen.
projector and projector screen that we've barely used.
Plan to use it for Skull, but we want to have it for more usages. I'm thinking like a 3D movie, because I bought a bunch of these 3D glasses for a specific reason. I got a 3D movie, but it only came with one pair, so I bought a pack for $7
Yeah.
from Tijuana or
You guys
somewhere.
remember when 3D TVs were a thing?
Yeah,
Briefly.
still a thing, sort of.
I guess so. It's amazing. Please shout out in the comments if you still have a 3D TV. I would like to hear about it.
I think Toshiba pulled the plug on them, but people still want them
They
because
were such a wonder for a while. It's like a 3D TV. What?
I mean, the elements are kind of thin for it, right? I mean, I think the most recent thing was that Vinegar Syndrome releasing Silent Madness in 3D, which is, hey, go you, if you can watch that in 3D. I think it was a fad that just kind of burnt out, and now people have these really expensive TVs that they can't replace, unfortunately. Let us know if you have one so we can borrow it for the time being. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we can probably watch Friday 3 in 3D, put it on the projector. I mean, that movie's terrible, but, you know, we can have
How dare you?
Wasn't
Do you
it
not
called
think
Friday 3D?
There is the third one.
It is opening with the most beautiful disco track I have ever heard. But sure, yeah, okay, you can have an opinion, I guess.
And
Wow,
okay.
harsh there, Midnight Dave.
A
But
very
the disco track
underrated-
is great if I remember, but I don't.
An underrated Jason. He was great.
It also marks the first time that it's the Jason hockey mask. So, okay. So there's some landmarks for the third one. Okay. I am not a very big slasher fan, as all people know. So I don't really hold that.
I know
one so
I've been
close.
begging to get to watch the whole Leprechaun series, which my brother got me years ago, and Dave will never give in.
The Leprechaun is amazing.
I know. I have to watch it.
You
on my-
know how near and dear the star, Warwick Davis, is to my heart.
Yes, all the way.
Plates.
Plates, skin deep
Plates.
on Blu-ray out of nowhere
With the soundtrack.
with the soundtrack.
Ah!
I mean,
What was that movie called again?
Skinned Deep.
Skinned Deep, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know how much of this we're keeping in. But, you know.
No, it's fine.
All of it. Priceless.
Definitely. Thank you, Katron.
And Jet Mike.
And
And
Jet
Jet Mike. Yes, Katron and Jet Mike. Man, our first crossover. Will it
That's
happen
so
again?
funny. And in a movie I've never heard of, so that's awesome. Loving it.
Thanks, HBO.
The only two people. Yeah.
Was it like back in the day, HBO?
Where
Yeah.
it played all the time. You know, hey, Beastmaster's on. It was like that for all those kinds of movies. They played them
Mm,
all the time.
we had HBO, but it was black box HBO, so it was like half fuzzy. You could only see half the screen, half the boobs. It's fuzzy boobs. It was not usually watchable, sadly.
I got them during the free trials. You know, the free weekends that they would do back when everyone was tied to the box. And that's how I saw Beastmaster and a few other ones, but never losing it, unfortunately. But we'll have to rectify that. Anyway, Jet Mike, Katron, thank you. Jenny, what is your final pick?
All right. I guess I'll just start out with the lyrics because they make me so happy. And in the film, they're in Japanese usually. I'm not sure if there's an English dub of this, but oh, forgotten kindness and ruined spirits, we pray for the people's spirit as we sing this song of love. Mothra, oh Mothra, if we were to call for help over time, over sea like a wave, you'd come, our guardian angel.
Oh.
Wow.
It's honestly one of my favorite movies of all time. I saw it in the last year, I think, for the
Mhm.
first time ever, and I was like, this is my movie. It is a 1961. I think it's the oldest movie we're talking about so far.
Mhm.
Japanese kaiju film. What does kaiju mean? Kaya.
Is that Mysterious Beast? Is that what it
Strange
is?
beast.
Strange Beast.
Very
There we
close.
go.
It's probably, there's probably no perfect English translation, I imagine. Giant monster films for anyone who's not in the know with kaiju, featuring ridiculous costumes, costumed monsters, or stop motion animation, and lots of fun monster fights, battles, destruction, and silliness.
Especially set on miniature sets that people in
Yes.
costume are rolling all over and destroying.
So many miniatures, such a good time. So Mothra, I think, is the second most famous Japanese character, which I didn't know until I started researching. I always assumed it was like Godzilla, Gamera, the other big ones, but Mothra is up there with Japanese culture. They love her, and it is a her, which is awesome because a lot of the other kaiju characters are mostly masculine.
Yeah, there's only a couple other girls that I know of.
Okay, what are the other ones? Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't, but I had a child explain it to me when I was like, I think Mothra might be the only one. And he was like, actually, here's some more. And I don't remember what they were, but there are a couple more, but nowhere near as famous as Mothra.
I'll have to do some deep diving. There's so many kaiju movies, it's ridiculous. But Mothra was the first of her kind. She is a giant moth. She is a flying, so the small summary of the movie is: a flying monster terrorizes Japan after a nightclub owner kidnaps two tiny fairy princesses from their island paradise. So the humans are the bad guys in this particular film, and they kidnap the two princesses. So let me actually go back a little bit. The movie was produced and directed by humongous studio, Toho Studios, starring Frankie Sakai. I'm going to butcher these names. I apologize in advance. Frankie Sakai, Hiroshi Kozumi, and Kyoko Kagawa. Those are some of the main characters. But most importantly, the Peanuts, who sing our main theme song for the film. They are a twin vocal group consisting of Emi and Yumi Ito, and their voices are only slightly apart in timbre, which results in them sounding like a solo artist utilizing reverb or double tracking. So they had quite a prolific career as a singing duo, and they're just ridiculously adorable. The song I gave the lyrics from is called The Song of Mothra. It is the main theme. It plays a few times in the film, and I think is like a backing instrumentals track as well. I think it was composed by Yuji Koseki. I'm not sure who wrote the lyrics. I'm assuming one of them did. But they're written in Japanese and then translated into Indonesian at Tokyo University, which is interesting. They had quite a career, the Peanuts. I don't know. They're still alive and kicking, and they're super adorable. I don't even know how to talk about this movie other than it's super fun, super adorable, and yeah, check it out.
Was Mothra in color, the first one?
She was in color.
Yeah, I think so. And she's so vibrant. She's like a rainbow.
She is. We have a new Blu-ray came out, in the last year, I think, from Eureka. Masters of Cinema series. It is a gorgeous thing to behold.
It is a great package. Got a really nice booklet. It's limited edition. It is a Region B, so it's a UK label. But Mill Creek released it in the United States, so it is available, and it's also available on VOD. But I love this movie. I was very upset when Jenny thought of it before I did.
I had this moment. I looked at him and I was like, I know what it's gonna be. And I was like a maniac fiend woman. I was like, I have it. And he's like kind of scared of me for a second. And I was like, Mothra. Because I would always sing the soundtrack because it's so cute. Masura. Yeah. The girls have beautiful range, beautiful vocals. They sang a few songs, I think, throughout the movie. And it just brings this wonderful female energy to the film, which is sometimes lacking in big old monster movies. So I
In
appreciated
a
it.
world of pure testosterone and lasers, Mothra is a welcomed guest or
Yeah,
presence.
she just wants her little ladies back. She doesn't want to bug anybody. She doesn't want anybody to bug her.
Bug. Haha.
Yay! Oh my god, I didn't even mean that. That's
And
perfect.
she is part of that Godzilla extended universe. She
Yes.
shows up and fights him a few times and
Mhm.
eats him and a couple other times.
Yeah, and saves his ass in the most recent King of the Monsters. Spoiler, I guess. She saves Godzilla from King Ghidorah. She's a badass.
She is a badass. She's impervious to most weaponry. She can build a cocoon to heal herself and to spawn. Wait, no, just to spawn, right?
Yeah,
So it's kind of like the phoenix rising from the ashes with
Yes.
Mothra. When
She
the old
sort
Mothra
of
dies, the new one takes her place. It's kind of
she
wonderful.
regenerates.
Yeah.
what's I think it was it in Mothra or is it one of the Godzilla sequels where there ends up being two caterpillars and then like at the end of the movie and then in the next film they ask, oh, where's the other caterpillar? And like they ask the Shobinjin, the peanuts, where's the second caterpillar? And I'm like, oh, it passed away unfortunately, like off screen. And I'm like, oh, I wanted two Mothras, come on, save the world on two ends, but yeah, piggyback off of this, say I absolutely love this film. I saw it when I was really young and it was great. I don't know why I didn't tell Jenny about it sooner. but yeah, as a huge kaiju fan, this is definitely up there.
I've never seen a Mothra movie. I think I've only seen one Godzilla movie. No, wait, two if you include the more recent one.
With the glut of them, it's hard to figure out where to start. And I've certainly not seen many of them, but you should see Mothra. I think it's worth it.
Definitely.
It's weird. Like the other ones do kind of have that testosterone stompy fight the gotta go fight the war and everybody's shooting at you with guns and that sort of thing. Mothra is just sort of strange and kind of comes from left field. The women that get stolen, they're tiny. They're like a foot big. Like they're tiny women that talk in these high-pitched voices and they're like the guardians of Mothra and they get stolen for the circus or whatever. Like that's totally ridiculous. And then Mothra has to come save them by destroying a bunch of stuff until
Yep.
she gets her buds back. That's definitely worth your time.
Absolutely. And as someone who has seen most, if not all of them, I would definitely start with what they call the Showa era Godzilla, which is where the first Mothra comes out of. Ashiro Honda, the director and creator of the whole franchise from Godzilla Rodan, Mothra, King Ghidorah, all the iconics, all his ideas. Yeah, definitely start there because they're a lot more fun and the stories are actually pretty good. They definitely care about the characters there. Try to seek out all the Japanese versions as much as possible because, just like Italian cinema, with anything from the outside, America likes to just completely screw up and add the worst American white man dubs you can ever imagine. But definitely fun. At the very least, fun, and if not, like really cool. Really great stories, really great campy sci-fi. And then they have the Heisei era, which is like late 80s, early 90s, which kind of has they try to link them all together plot-wise, which is interesting. And, there's still guys in suits. They're just a little bit more upscale, if you will, a little bit more refined. But I don't really like them as much. They're a little bit of a slog sometimes. Cool to see the monster fights. And then, there's the Millennium era and then the current era that we're in now, which, for better or for worse.
So what you're trying to say is Matthew Broderick Godzilla is the best Godzilla that has ever been made. I get you. Yokiero Taco Bell had that little dog had a great Godzilla crossover.
Yep.
Dude, I worked at Collector's Heaven, Kaya knows Collector's Heaven in the Swansea Mall, rest in peace. And that was when Godzilla came out, Matthew Broderick. The owner bought so much Godzilla merch, much, and I sold zero. We put it on clearance. I sold zero.
Oh my god.
That day.
So you just giving it away in bags after that?
That and Blair Witch trading cards.
Trading cards. Oh man.
Yeah.
What did you have pictures of? Just people staring into a camera and then the woods? Because that was pretty much all you'd
I don't
have.
know. We did give those away for Halloween when I mean, maybe we shouldn't
Yeah,
have
I
done that.
really
But
want to know what was on those. Like what?
I'm going to go eBay myself, the whole set.
Is the Blair Witch card holographic? That's what I want to know.
they did have
It's
inserts.
got to be. Right.
Short story.
I'm going to go find it.
Short story about Godzilla 2000. I saw it in the theaters with my dad, and I'm in it, totally focused, totally digging it as a little kid. I forgot how old I was, but old enough to think that movie was awesome. And Matthew Broderick is in the street with the big pile of fish, and then Godzilla comes stomping and eating it. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's so cool. And I turn to my dad, and he is mouth full open, asleep, snoring right next to me. And, you know, I just let him be. Not impressed, obviously. You know, luckily he woke up in time to bring us both home. But, but that is a fond memory I have. Awesome. I'm so glad we're talking about kaiju. It warms my heart.
I know, it was the good almost last movie bringing the Japan love to the podcast.
Absolutely. I'm definitely a big fan of Asian cinema as a whole. But anyway, my final pick, the cherry on top of this clown pie, this clown ice cream pie stuffed with purple rain that will make you lose it,
with marshmallows.
that you have to find during
Baseball.
Midnight Madness.
And Space Jam it
And
inside
Space
of you.
Jam it inside of you while you're performing Mortal Kombat while busting ghosts. It is Blade. You know, while you're skating on blades. I did it, right? That's everything. Awesome.
Perfect.
From 1998.
We don't deal with rapping, deal with strictly fractions. We be broadcasting since we wreck.
Yo, is this the mic right here? Yo, turn me up.
So bring the best on. We be slaying dragons.
Channel Live.
So my time to cash in.
Representing.
We be long lasting,
Yo.
acting blunts with the action.
Yo, let me test this mic when I freshly write. We the best tonight. KRS, be tight with a Wesley snipe. If you the best, be the lightning. We can be praying or we can be fighting. It could be damn, could be nighting. Whatever you saying, it better be writing. It can be exciting, but the fighting be frightening to the blacks and whites reciting our writing. Better we hike, not clash to the titan writing. Beyond verbal fighting, expressing a lesson in songwriting. Whether I'm right or wrong or both, I'm reciting the oath to be the most on both coasts. Whether I MC toast the host, I expose the logos. In my stand-up solos, yeah. Keep practicing, you're almost there. Never show no fear, cause I can never get near. See them get smeared, it's the crowd cheered, but that's too weird. Don't be worried, don't be scared. I only shared what it's like to be prepared, cause I cared when you stared at me. You dared to be hip-hop.
Stephen Norrington, Blade, Wesley Snipes. You know who it is. Michael Frost is Stephen Dorff. Chris Christopherson is Whistler. Edo Kier making an appearance as Dragonetti. Oh, man, I love this movie so much. And what's great is that it's not one song, but 3 songs that deal with Blade directly. Let's just read the artist lists, right? Blade, titular song, performed by KRS-One and Channel Live. The Edge of the Blade, performed by Mystical. Blade for Glory, performed by Majesty and Bizbone. This is top-notch stuff here, people. This is chef's kiss 90s rap we're talking about here, 90s hip-hop. On the Blade soundtrack, where Wesley Snipes is Blade. Come on. How can you not love this movie? If you don't know what the movie is, just pause, watch it, please.
Dave, I feel like you're selling us a car right now.
I want to buy the Blade.
I want to buy the
It
Blade
comes
car.
with a pine cone air freshener, free of charge.
Is it a steak shift though?
Nice. That was brilliant.
Brilliant. It's a
Oh,
round of
thank you.
applause for the
Thank you.
steak shift. If you don't know, Blade's mother was bitten by a vampire while she was pregnant, and then she didn't know that such would give her son a special gift, which is that he has all the good vampire attributes in combination with the best human attributes. So he's a daywalker, essentially, but also, has the immortality within reason, not getting staked in the heart and all of that. And so he takes it upon himself to fight off the legions of vampires, which are more or less the Illuminati in this movie, led by Edo Kier. But then there's also Stephen Dorff's character Frost, which is a total badass. He's totally like this 90s goth, takes no shit, really wants to oust the old-fashioned traditional vampires of Edo Kier's ilk and bring in like this new cyberpunk goth wave of, you know, vampire orgies and techno music.
Absolutely. He wears this like shimmering shirt through most of it that like I definitely know someone who owned that shirt.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's never fully buttoned. It's always like fourth button down, see a little chest hair, but it's not much because he's, you know, like me and just kind of has, you know, very light, but he pulls it off. You know, he might like Rogaine that shit and then try to make it stand out a little more.
He definitely conditions his chest hair.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
manicures it, you know, puffs it up a little bit. It's a great romp. It has the best opening scene where there's this they kidnap a guy. He's lured into this vampire dance rave.
He is not kidnapped. He is thinking he's going to a rave with this wonderful woman.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You know, she puts her hand on his leg. He says something about seeing his heat seeker. They're going to a club as far as he knows.
Right. He's under different suspicions, you know.
And cool underground rave club, which would be something that would really happen.
Yeah.
When
Lords of
Blade was a
Acid was
thing.
probably playing.
Right? Someone was blasting
Or the
Mortal
Immortals.
The song in the beginning of this movie is wonderful too. It is Confusion, New Order, right? But
Oh, there you go.
remix. And it is so good. And it's like 100,000 minutes long, but I could listen to it over and over again. It's just the same techno loop over and over again, like very of its time. But it is so good too.
Absolutely.
It's got a great soundtrack all around this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And during this opening scene where the guy is lured or thinking he's going to get some nice goth vampire rave on, and he ends up being dinner. And then Blade shows up and kicks all the ass, edge of the blade, appropriately so, and just gore city, paints the town red.
Well, blood was already coming out of the sprinkler system at the vampire rave before
was
Blade
the
even
white-
got there.
The
Right.
white shirt blood party.
The white shirt blood party. That's right.
There were drains in the floor specifically made for this, and you know, Blade took advantage of that.
He did. He set it up really well, or planned really well. Point is, there's a lot going on in the first 10 minutes of this movie that I can't even explain how amazing it is. And then it just takes off from there like a shotgun. It just doesn't stop. Even, you know, when the CG, which is doesn't necessarily age well, but it's forgivable because this movie is just amazing.
Not as bad as Spawn, which came out a year before. And I always got confused because I think I saw them maybe loosely here and there on TV. And I always thought they were the same movie when I was little. And we watched them recently and they are not the same movie.
No.
In fact, Spawn is pretty terrible. But John Leguizamo as a giant demon clown is kind of awesome and horrifying at the same time. So
I just imagine, speaking of Spawn and John Leguizamo's clown, I just imagine Leguizamo.
Luigiano, whatever his name is, you know him.
I just
He
imagine
was Luigi once.
it's Luigiamo.
Johnny Legs, actually, is what I call him because we're friends. Johnny Legs.
Johnny Legs. I was just gonna say, I think his back would hurt every day because he really has to be hunched to play the clown. Because he's always like this low because he has to be, because the clown is a very short person. And you know, I relate. I feel bad for him. He did all this work, this amazing work for a movie that was just kind of not great.
Did you get a lot of Spawn movie memorabilia at Collector's Heaven that sold just as well?
No, with the McFarlane toys sold super well. Those movie toys did not. And you know, I got 2 Spawn tattoos, so I was really upset when that movie came out. The HBO animated series, though, fabulous.
That was very
Really?
good. Yes.
I'll back that
R-rated
up too.
adult
We just got
animation.
HBO Go.
Oh
So we'll
yeah,
have to-
it's worth the time.
Nice.
It's probably the first thing I ever saw where cartoons had sex, and I was like, "Oh no, I don't know if I should be watching this," but I still did.
Cartoons
And
are for kids. What is happening?
it was very good. I was very much like, "Oh,
The first one cartoon
around
I saw
like,
that was adult oriented was Heavy Metal.
Nice.
Oh
And
yes.
it blew my probably 10-year-old mind. Sorry, off track.
No, it's
Yeah,
perfect. I don't know what else to say about Blade. That would just make me ramble on about how great it is without spoiling it, but definitely worth the time. Came out on 4K around Christmas time last year, and it is probably the best 4K I've ever seen, or at least up there. They really did a great job with that.
I feel like Deacon Frost, who is played by Steven Dorff, is like Angel from Buffy without his soul. It's like same character. You know what I mean?
no way, he doesn't care about killing people though. Angel's all wishy-washy crybaby. Wow, being a vampire's terrible.
No, without his soul though.
Oh, without. Oh, yeah. All right, yeah.
Same everything. Same.
He's
appearance.
not blonde though. You gotta have
Really?
that.
He's got the spikies.
Yeah.
That's like dirty blonde. I don't know. I got major Angel vibes from that character.
Oh, absolutely.
I do love about one of the things about Blade that I love is that, like Dave said, it's very like 90s techno and the technological stuff too. That Udo Kier's vampire is very like, we must do things we've always done. And Steven Dorff's like, dude, we got computer databases now. We can like use computers for things. And then they do. And there's some like nice 90s hacking going on.
Mm.
Anytime you throw in a computer of its time, I'm just like, yes, that's it. Dial that up and then do the unnecessary click clacks to whatever you're doing.
I just love how he's trying to decrypt this ancient vampiric scroll, and he's just using a computer to do it, and that's one of the things that they're giving him shit for, is doing this very logical thing. Like, yeah, why not? Makes sense.
Get with the times, man. I'm gonna go surf the net.
Get with it, Eurocure. And speaking of HBO Max, while you stream Spawn the animated series, you can also stream Blade, because it's on there as well, and a bunch of VOD. So it's available, it's wide, go check it out. But in any case, thanks for joining us, everybody.
I do recommend, now that people may be thinking of movies with songs that have the name of the movie and the song, you will start noticing it now, and start making a playlist. Like, make it fun. Make it your life slow, obsessive work to the point that your friends have to make a podcast about it. Like,
No, this was a good challenge, you guys. I really had to dig deep. I was like, I don't want to go off the main list of everything. I want to find ones that aren't so usual,
Ones that aren't necessarily obvious.
I mean, Mortal Kombat was completely obvious, but Mothra, that was a weird epiphany that I had. And what was my even other one? Black Snake Moan, that was a left fielder. I was just going through my DVDs. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, once the gears start turning, you really start to note things a lot more. So there is a Spotify playlist I think you made, K-Tron.
I do, and I have a letterboxd list as well. I encourage people to make their own too, because there's a lot more out there than you would imagine. And I think on my letterbox list, I just say every James Bond movie is spiritually included, because it's every James Bond movie too. It's just a fun novelty thing that isn't done all the time. But when it is, I think it should be applauded, because it's just kind of kitschy and kind of fun. And sometimes you do strike gold with them.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing it. And anyone listening, if we talked about a movie or didn't talk about a movie that comes to mind when you think of this theme, send it to us. Tag us, Midnite Romero on Twitter, Midnite Romero Society on Instagram. All of our information's on midnightromerosociety.org, and we are the Midnight Cast. I am Midnight Dave, and I am signing off with
Jenny from the Grave.
K-Tron.
And Jet Mike.
Thank you for everyone who is listening to our first episode. I hope you enjoy the second one. And then next month, we will be talking about Psycho Gorman, right? We're still doing that?
Yes.
All right, cool. So yeah, we'll be talking about Psycho Gorman, which is a modern classic, I will say right off the bat. and I can't wait to do a deep dive for that. Spoiler warning ahead of time, and we won't be doing a deep dive, so now's your chance to check it out. Shudder actually just announced that it will be premiering in May. I think that it was May 20th was the date that they gave. So it'll be on there. I think it's on VOD now, so check it out. Gets our recommendation and get ready to have a deep dive conversation next month. Until then, thank you for listening, and have a great night or day or whenever you listen to this. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh